This video contains subject matter that may be offensive and disturbing to some people. If you are the type to require a warning throughout a video or show, let this message serve as your warning. This channel discusses the harsh reality of true crime. If this warning is not sufficient for you, consider a different genre and unsubscribe from my channel immediately. What's going on, everybody? Hey, you like my new swinging sign? Oh well. You guys have to hit that button, you know? That one right there. Subscribe. Notification bell. All. Okay? Has to look just like that. If you don't have it look just like that, then it's not going to work. What does Australia Day even mean? Is it like your 4th of July or what? Yeah. Alright, well anyways, that's what you guys need to do if you're not getting notifications. Yeah, I don't even know. I mean, that case in Indiana with the killings, it's already solved. It's just sort of like, yeah, I mean, I'll play the press conference for you guys and whatever, but you know, there's a family killed. One of the individuals was pregnant, so I would actually say 6 people were killed, not 5 like people like to say. But Indiana has a law where you can't. It's not really murder, you know, it's like... Yeah. So, anyways. I'll just play the press conference and that one. They made an arrest already. Some 17-year-old kid. I think he's a relative. I think he's like he killed his cousin's family. I mean, just psycho, right? Yeah, this is, hold on. Whose birthday is it? Mine?
Happy birthday to Serena! Happy birthday to Serena! Happy birthday, dear Serena! Happy birthday to you!
And many more.
Hey, good job, you guys. Yeah, so it says 5, including pregnant woman fatally shot in Indianapolis. Yeah, so just say 6, okay? Yeah, like 5 people, including a pregnant woman. Well, the child she was carrying died too, okay? It was a human being, all right? The fatal shooting were discovered by police who had been called about 4 a.m. to investigate reports of a person shot on the city's near northeast side, but first discovered a juvenile male with gunshot wounds. I sort of wonder if that juvenile male is the person. You know, maybe they were trying to kill themselves. I don't know. Maybe not. I'm just saying they made an arrest later. So it was A 42-year-old Kezzy Childs, Raymond Childs, 42, Elijah Childs, 18, Rita Childs, 13, and Kiara Hawkins, 19. So I'm assuming one of these two younger people was pregnant. I don't really know the reasoning behind the shooting. Let me just play. I'll just play the press conference for you guys. At least you'll get sort of a story.
And so if we could bow in prayer. Most holy and gracious God, we come to you seeking.
I know this channel will probably, just playing that will get me, a demonetization, because the people that run YouTube don't believe in that kind of stuff.
Guidance. God, we've done all that we can do. And we ask that you would do for us what we cannot do for ourselves. Father, the violence that we have seen over the course of the last 24 hours has been nothing less than disturbing. It's been scary. And so, God, we ask that you would stand up in our community and help us in this place. Father, we ask that you would touch the families that were affected last night, and even families that were affected by violence before last night. God, we ask that you would encourage our community to stand up and say enough is enough. Help us, God, that we would be able to move forward from this, and that we would be able to walk in the new.
Hey, I'll tell you what, individual with the letters F and then another letter U, I'm going to time you out every time you make a comment, merely for just having that name on YouTube, okay? You're not welcome here with that stupid-ass name, all right? Thanks.
Newness of life that you have so graciously bestowed upon.
Even if you're saying something really great and supportive, okay? It's dumb as hell to have a name like that.
On us. Father, we thank you. We love you. We honor you. But most of all, God, even in the midst of this, we trust you. It's in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.
Thank
Hello,
you.
I'm Sergeant Shane Foley with the IMPD Public Affairs Office. I'm going to provide a brief statement of what we know and can release at this time. Then the Mayor and Chief will make statements. There'll be a number of questions you have that
No, Sarita, it's a women.
we will not be able to answer at this time. We understand this is of particular interest to the community, and we'll provide as much information as we can, and we'll release additional information as it becomes available.
Thank you, Claudia Neubauer.
Just before 4 a.m., IMPD North District officers responded to the 3300 block of East 36th Street on a report of a person shot. Upon arrival, officers located a juvenile male with apparent gunshot wounds. He was transported to an area hospital.
Hold on.
To the 3300 block of East 36th Street on a report of a person shot. Upon arrival, officers located a juvenile male with apparent gunshot wounds.
Thank you.
He was transported to an area hospital. Officers later received information that led them to a residence in the 3500 block of Adams Street. Officers entered the residence and located 5 individuals with apparent gunshot wounds who were all deceased.
See, I think the first place that they went is the shooter, and then that led them to go to the other property, right? Doesn't that make sense? I mean, I don't know if that's the reality of it, but that's what I assumed when I first heard it.
Of the individuals, one of the individuals was pregnant and transported to an area hospital. Despite the best life-saving efforts provided by medical staff, both the female and the unborn child did not survive. The juvenile male who was shot is expected to survive his injuries. From what we know at the very early stages of this investigation, this does not appear to be a random act. This is a very active investigation. Detectives are still on scene, canvassing the area for witnesses or anyone with information. If anyone has information that will assist detectives, we ask them to call Crime Stoppers at 262-TIPS or the IMPD Homicide Office at 327-3475.
Oh, whatever happened then. I was back on.
This morning,
Kind of like this guy. He's really, blunt. little bit like, you know, our favorite sheriff,
one or more
Gritty Jug.
individuals perpetrated an act of evil in our city. While we're still learning more about the
And by the way, when they zoom in like that, they're just trying to get a focus, and then they zoom in, find focus, then you pan back, you zoom back out.
circumstances that led to this incident, I want to be very clear about something. What happened this morning was not an act of simple gun violence. As tragic as a simple act of gun violence is. What happened this morning was a mass murder. The choice of an individual or individuals to bring, and I do not use these words lightly, terror to our community. I've already been in contact with the United States Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Indiana, the Indianapolis Field Office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, as well as other law enforcement partners. I want those responsible to know that the full might of local, state, and federal law enforcement are coming for them as I speak. Coming for them today, coming for them tonight, coming for them tomorrow, and the day after that. Coming for them as long as it takes to find them. And we will not stop there. We will also determine whether the guns involved in this incident were illegally possessed. If they were, we will identify any individual responsible for illegally providing the gun to those who committed these acts. We will also identify and bring to justice anyone who has or does aid and abet those who are responsible. We will not stop until anyone complicit with this act of violence is held fully responsible. For a decade now, you know this. The city of Indianapolis has engaged in a community conversation as to how we should best address the deadly confluence of guns, substance abuse, and poverty that has seen our city's homicide rate rise to historic highs. Worse yet, the last year has seen a national surge in deadly gun violence, the causes of which are still debated, but almost certainly are, at least in part, tied to the economic and personal anxiety faced by millions of Americans due to a global pandemic. But that is not what happened today. This is a crisis of morality, a crisis of conscience. This morning, the city of Indianapolis was targeted with an act of depravity that has become...
Wait, hold on. Hey, the F and the U person that's in the chat. If you change your name, you're more than welcome to comment here. But your name is just offensive in itself. It's just really childish, okay? So, you don't need to come in here and say, oh, you guys are all going down, just because your name is ridiculous. Who the hell would name themselves that on YouTube, okay? It's really childish, all right? So I'll let you respond, all right? But change your name to something reasonable, and you're more than welcome to comment here, all right? It's stupid.
all too common across the country.
Yeah, I saw what he said, Jennifer Rochelle. I make my own decisions. Thank you. I'll do what I want.
And will never cease to shock.
I even said
The
what he said.
conscience.
I just said it. You said we're all going down.
I ask anyone who has any knowledge of this crime, now is the time to speak out. Now is the time to come forward. I ask you to call Crime Stoppers. I ask you to talk to detectives. Speak with one of our violence reduction team members. Be the person who says this type of violence, this senseless terror, has no place
Like, you guys just put people on timeout. I'll read the comment and I'll decide, okay? That's what I've asked to do numerous times.
in our community. Today, Indianapolis has lost much, including an unborn life. Justice will
Which is a child.
be done. Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department Chief Randall Taylor. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Just this last week, we talked about investments that we're making and resources we're devoting to stopping crime and violence here
I
in
don't know if you guys want to listen to this whole thing, but I'll just keep playing it.
Indianapolis. Drug-related crimes,
Doesn't seem to be a very good super chat producer.
domestic violence, violence driven by poverty or desperation. But what we saw this morning was a different kind of evil. What occurred this morning, based on the evidence that's been gathered so far, was a mass murder. More than that, we believe it was not random. There are no right words to say at this time. Time when our community must come to terms with the largest mass casualty shooting in more than a decade. I myself am heartbroken for the lives that have been taken too soon, for the young.
Yeah, that's great, but why don't you change your name? If you're so religious with that dumbass name, you seem it's kind of embarrassing, isn't it? Do you think the God that you believe in would want you to go around and say all that stupid, have a name dumb as that? You sound like a total idiot. Okay? How about you practice what you preach?
Life that's forever been changed, and for the life that never got a chance to start. For the neighborhood left to pick up
I know
the
it's
pieces
a troll. I've seen him before. I'm just
in
giving
the
him a
wake
chance
of
to
unprecedented violence,
hang themselves.
and for all of the family and friends that have been rocked by grief. I'm angry that perpetrators felt that they had the right to commit this senseless act in the community, in our community. I'm frustrated for my officers, and for the crime scene technicians, and for the coroners that had to spend their day and are still out on that scene and will spend the days to come. But more than that, I'm determined. Determined to hold those accountable that committed this act. Determined to be part of our community's collective healing at this unacceptable crime and the even more trauma that's already burdened our community this year. I'm determined to work alongside every member of this community to ensure that this doesn't happen again. Because we as police can do a lot to improve our neighborhoods, but we simply cannot do it alone. Now, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what goes through a person's mind. I don't know what kind of lie they listen to in their head that would tell them that pulling the trigger on anybody, but especially on this many people, is the right thing to do. I don't think I really want to know, to be honest with you. But it does have to stop. Our community doesn't deserve this. So please, if you have any information, please call Crime Stoppers anonymously if you have
This is
to.
before the arrest.
317-262-TIPS, or our homicide office at 327-3475. If you have any information that could help, please help. This time we'll try to answer any questions you may have.
Chief, is the general community in danger? Do you know who you're looking for? Is there somebody who should be accounted for out of that house who right now is unaccounted?
There's no one to my knowledge that is unaccounted for out of that house. I believe our detectives streamlining their investigation. There are no identifiable suspects at this time. Do believe that there could possibly be more than one shooter. That's about all I can say about that.
Is the general community in danger, or is this an isolated incident to this specific family in this specific house?
I believe this is isolated to this family in this house.
With this being a mass murder, as the mayor called it, is there a manhunt right now for a suspect?
The detectives, like I said, are working the investigation, and as more information comes available, then we'll share that as we get it. It's my understanding that would make it 6. Yes. I don't know the particulars of that at this point. Sure, just like I said, our prayers are with you.
Thanks, Lee D.
Commander Wally and his people have done a great job. They'll be out there and available to try to comfort them as much as they can. Like I said before, I believe this was not a random act. This was targeted, so I don't think that they're in danger, but obviously I understand their concern for what happened in that neighborhood. Well, next thing for us to do is identify and arrest the people that perpetrated this crime. But in the long run, obviously, we've got to come together as a community, working hand in hand in order to stop this violence, because this is a terrible event, obviously. But you know our murder numbers were high last year. We don't want to see that repeat this year. So we're going to have to do the things that it takes to come together and figure out a way to stop this.
The whole country's a shit show right now.
More participation by community members is on the horizon. I think that will certainly help and go a long way.
Chief, with this one, this was 6 people, 6 lives. You also have the juvenile who looks like...
No, that is the 6.
But outside of that, in the hours leading up, weren't there 7
other
shootings tonight?
There were a number of shootings, yes.
What is the message to the people who just think it's okay to just shoot people?
What a dumb question. Yeah, well, you know what? You guys should have been taking care of that for the last year.
Well, I think the mayor and I have been very clear. It's not okay. There is a problem. Like I said, I don't know what goes through a person's
like there's anybody out there that thinks it's okay.
Mind that thinks that shooting is going to solve a problem. You know, whether you're shooting because money is owed or whether it's a respect issue or whatever. None of that really makes sense, and it doesn't. It doesn't move your life forward if you do those things. All you've done is created a time for yourself, a life for yourself, where you're always going to be looking over your shoulder, wondering who's coming, whether it's law enforcement or someone else.
What was your first thought when you got this call this morning after this and the other shooting?
Well, when I look at those pages, I think the first one I recognized was a shooting. Then when I saw the number of people at that time, I didn't know what their condition was, but that came in a little bit later. It breaks your heart. But that's why I came out. Nothing I can do with it. The detectives and the officers on the street had done a fine job of securing the scene and doing whatever they could. But I wanted to come out here and support and be here. But these are things that stay with me.
I think we were just talking last week. Was that when we were?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And we talked about how you can't prevent all of these things, but in the post of it, are there enough detectives? Are there enough officers and mayor and councilor to get get these cases wrapped up. So we had a whole conversation this morning with folks who have been waiting 16 months because their family had a member that was murdered. Do you guys have the resources to follow these?
Well, we've got dedicated men and women that are working it. I won't say we couldn't use more. That's something we can certainly look at. I think it's concerning that we have to have this many detectives assigned to homicide in the first place. Really, as a community, we shouldn't have to be there. I've said over and over, the mayor and the council have done a great job with giving us staff that we need and the officers that we need, but we can't be everywhere at the same time to prevent these things. And unfortunately, until we can get over people's desire to shoot and kill, then we're going to have problems.
A question for the mayor. Sir, you rolled out your 2021
The problem is you can't keep people from feeling that way. They're psychos, you know. They're just a lot of really whacked out people in society.
Is there anything in that strategy that would have precluded what happened on North Adams?
Well, Russ, I want to be clear. We take any act of violence, gun violence, very seriously. But absent having a police officer in every home in our community, given what I understand the investigators are finding, I'm not sure there's any particular thing that we could have done to prevent. Let me be clear about this. When we talk about public safety generally and improving public safety in the city of Indianapolis, the types of violence that we have sought to see decline are the programs and the policies that we proposed in our 2021 rollout. Those are largely they are designated to address crimes of passion.
Oh, I guess that was it. That's where it cut off, actually. So. All right. Anyways, you know, sad story. Bum, 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 bum. I was gonna go more into that, but I don't think I'm gonna. It's just not, you know, it happened. It made the arrest, and you know, it's good to just kind of let it fade into oblivion at this point. So there you go. Alright, so now I'm just going to do the case that I was looking at for the show. You know, there's a longer one. Did I ever cover the case with the three... you guys remember the Girl Scout that was murdered, and then it was solved using genealogy. It was like 1960 or 50 something. It was crazy, really old case. But did I ever cover the one with the three that I stumbled upon the other night? But I found that I had a folder on it. But I couldn't find that I ever made a video on the three young girls that were killed at a camp. It sounds familiar to me because I've actually seen it before. Thanks, Zozo. Well, I mean, yeah, some people haven't seen every single one of my shows. But I had a folder on it and a Google Earth folder. So, you know, that's interesting to me because I usually wouldn't take the time. I wonder if I just did it and then never covered it, but I built the folder and well, I have that one too, but I'm just going to do this one. Maybe I'll just make it a shorter night. Yeah, well, it doesn't matter if two don't remember it. Most people in here haven't watched anywhere near all of my videos. Okay, I have 2,000 videos, which is kind of freaky, really. Yeah, it was Oklahoma Girl Scouts. Yeah, it could have just been a really short version of it, but it was so much bigger than that, so maybe we'll have to do that again. Because the folder that I saw had like 3 PDF files, and that was it. Well, Dalai Mama Drama seems like that she remembers it. And it was from Oklahoma. Thanks, Nona617. I did, well, the thing is the other night I mentioned it because it popped up on the screen, if that's what you're referring to. I just found a folder from March 2020. So literally, almost a year ago. No, it was almost a year ago. Thank you, Nona617. Okay, so anyways, this case is Rachel Anthony. I haven't really read much about it. I kind of mapped some of the parts out. It's in Minnesota.
Chewbacca?
In Minnesota.
Oh, I'll be Chewbacca if you want me to.
That's right. Thank you, Rita Schaefer. All right, here we go. Pine River woman missing. This is an unsolved case. Just so you know. She was last seen vacuuming while closing a liquor store. It sounds very familiar to many other stories, almost identical, actually. Like, I think we've done at least 4 that are similar to this one. Authorities said Wednesday they suspected foul play in the disappearance of a woman from the liquor store where she was working Tuesday night. The liquor store isn't there anymore. It's a police station based on the address. I mean, not a fire station. Police Chief Steve Abraham said one of his officers noticed that Rachel... not noticed. One of the officers... No, it did say no. Noticed that Rachel Anthony, 50, of rural Pecote Lakes was missing from Ultimate Liquors between 10 and 10:30 p.m. And that's in this town called Pine River right here in Minnesota. And that is the location of the liquor store. But then when you look at it, that's, it's definitely a fire station now. So let me just check it out. That almost looks like... That's 2016. That almost looks like when it was a liquor store, doesn't it? Notice the, the little parking out in the front there. Let's see. Let me just make sure. No, that's still there, the parking. So this is 2018, the street view here. So let's just go back in time. I just want to see if we can see it changing. This is 2001. Yeah, it almost looks the same. I don't know. Yeah, but it's definitely, that is the address. I found it 3 different places. There's another liquor store right here-ish, so... Either way, it's just right here in this small little town that she was working.
Chewbacca? Oh, I'll be Chewbacca if you want me to.
Thanks, Sarita! Is that a new one? I haven't seen that one before. I'll take it, man. I'll take it. Yeah. And it's your birthday, so... Thank you for giving me a donation on your birthday. Which a big chunk goes to charity, So let me get back to that. So an officer noticed that she was missing between 10 and 10:30. The chief said Anthony apparently was closing up for the night when she disappeared. Her car was found running outside the store. See, we've had that one a couple times, right? Her car was literally still running. That means she had just gotten into her car, and somebody came up, probably put a gun to the windshield and said, "Get out," and the car kept running. She like freaked out. I mean, it's interesting that it's still running. Or somebody abducted her in her own vehicle and then drove it back there because their actual car was still there in that area. I don't know. Anthony was last seen vacuuming just before closing time. Surveillance video provided no clues. Authorities theorized she might have been taking out the garbage at the time of the incident. Well, then why was her car running? Nothing was apparently stolen from the store. Pine River, a town of about 900 people, is about 25 miles north of Brainerd in central Minnesota. Cass County Sheriff Randy Fisher said a plane searched in the darkness for Anthony. Searchers with dogs and helicopters scoured the area during the day Wednesday. Thanks, Darlene White. Investigators also questioned other Pine River business owners. A person who does something like this may have been in town for other purposes or done something else. Let's see. They buy coffee, they buy gas, they buy cigarettes, or they stop someplace for a drink. Anthony was described as white, 5'10", so really tall, 170 pounds with blue eyes and dark brown hair. She was wearing a dark blue turtleneck under a dark blue pullover shirt, blue jeans, and white tennis shoes. And this is another article on that same day. On the paper. Now this is, see, these are just when she's missing. Foul play is suspected in disappearance. The back door of the store was open, and Anthony's coat, purse, and cigarettes were on a chair behind the sales counter. Yeah, I mean, that is interesting because if all that's still in there and she goes outside, why did she go outside? And why would she be in her car and starting it up? You know? So it's weird that the car was running. That's an interesting bit of information. Because her coat, purse, and cigarettes, that means she wasn't leaving for the night. I don't know. I mean, you could all come up with a million things. I think it's just strange. Okay, so you think she had the car running, like she went outside, somebody may have seen her as she put the key in her door and was just going to heat it up because nobody's going to steal her car out there. And then she goes back inside, and it was actually February 27th, so it was even colder at that time. Yeah, it's February 27th is the day she went missing. Yeah, so she goes outside, and you're saying that maybe she turned on the vehicle with her key and just went back inside and started finishing up her work so that when she was done, the car would be nice and warm. I guess that makes sense. So then she, she probably went back inside even at that point. And then somebody, well, no, the back door was open, so she went out the back door. Maybe that's where her car was. Let's just read this thing. Investigators said Wednesday that they suspect foul play and asked for the public's help finding her. We're all kind of just dazed. Winch said after an extensive ground search of the city and surrounding countryside. And that turned up no signs. I don't know. I think I'm still in shock, said Jessica Winch, Anthony's daughter. We're in a little dinky town way up north. I never thought I would be involved in something like this. Police from Pine River, a town of about 950 residents, were joined by more than 50 officers from the Cass County Sheriff's Office and by local firefighters in the search Wednesday. A half-dozen agents from the State Bureau of Criminal Apprehension looked for clues inside the liquor store. A bloodhound was brought in from nearby Paquette Lakes. The dog picked up a scent but lost it again north of town, Pine River Police Chief Steve Abraham said. It was just too cold, he said. A state patrol helicopter searched the area in the dark on Wednesday morning. But that didn't do us any good. Deputies also patrolled the town and countryside in squad cars looking for any signs of fresh tracks in the snow. So it was even snow on the ground. Again, they found nothing. We really don't have any clues. It's very worrisome, said Terry Smith, special agent in charge of northern Minnesota. What we know right now is enough to make us very concerned for this woman's welfare. Cass County Sheriff Randy Fisher said more air searches are planned for today. This time of year, you can find out if any is in the woods by flying over a helicopter or by going down a township road with a squad car. Smith said, explaining why the search differs from the shoulder-to-shoulder ground search by helicopters. Yeah, from the air you could see any tracks or anything. Anthony was working a 2 to 10 p.m. shift at the store, which is in the middle of the city's business district just off of Highway 371. See, there's 371. And, you know, the other bar also is right here. Like if you type in bars in Pine River, you know. Now there's actually another, not bar, I meant liquor store. Shit. Yeah, it's right there. So, I mean, there's one that's right here, and then there's this one. That's the address that I found for the ultimate liquor store. This one's called Bar Stock Liquor Store. So, you know, I guess it could have been that one, and the address I found was wrong. I don't know. But there's really only one liquor store there now, and it could just be that there was one there. The fire department bought up the property, even though it looks similar. There's no historical street view either. And then a liquor store moved over here and changed the name. I mean, it's not like you need 3 liquor stores in a town this small. Anthony was working 2 to 10 p.m. shift at the store off 371. Owner Kim Johnson described Anthony as an outgoing clerk who was very friendly with customers and has never had trouble with them. She said Anthony has been a full-time clerk at the store since July 1999 and typically works the late shift Tuesday through Saturday. She said she last saw her about 4 p.m. Tuesday when she stopped in to make sure the clerk had enough change for the night. Everything seemed very much in order. Johnson said Anthony's closing routine likely would be consistent in cold weather. Here we go. Go outside to start her car. There you go. Okay, you guys nailed it. Start her car, then head inside, lock the front door, and take out the garbage out back. After returning inside, she'd lock the back door, then head out the front exit again, locking the door behind her. Okay, so that shows you that she, at the very end, took the trash outside. I mean, that's just what you would think based on a routine. You know, we don't know actually the reality of how the person, maybe the person got in there as well, but there was no sign of struggle inside. But, you know, a gun makes people not struggle. It seems more likely, though, and easier for an abductor to wait for the person to go outside to empty the trash. I wonder if they actually found the trash dumped or not, didn't quite make it to the trash can yet. Then head out the front exit again, locking the door behind her. Although the store has several video cameras, Johnson said the system was not working Tuesday. Ah, Jesus. God. Shit. What a nightmare. Yeah, that's what we were just saying. Yeah, out in the back, yeah. Nobody, because the store was closed, Jen. According to Abraham, police officer Sean Bennett first spotted Anthony's car running outside the liquor store as he made rounds late Tuesday. When he drove by about 1 a.m. and found it still running, he stopped to investigate. Bennett found the front door of the store locked. Then when he circled around the back, he found the alley exit open. Let's see which one of these has an alley. Okay. Alley. So that would have been the back. Yeah, it's just not even. Let me go to the other place just in case. It could have been like that's the alley or something. I don't know. I always hate it when they update everything. You know, just leave it the way it was. don't ever update stuff for Google Earth. Okay. Don't build new buildings. All right. Don't tear buildings down. We need to keep those, especially when there's no historical Google Earth. All right. Although the store had several video cameras, Johnson said the system was not working Tuesday. It was off, she said, and we didn't get it restarted. Jeez. According to Abraham, police officer Sean Bennett first spotted, how convenient for that abductor. And so right now she's missing. Anthony's car running outside the liquor store as he made rounds late Tuesday. When he drove by about 1 a.m. and found it still running, he stopped to investigate. Bennett found the front door of the store locked, then circled around the back and found the alley exit open, Abraham said. He called for backup before going inside. Police found no evidence of a struggle and said nothing was missing from the store or Anthony's purse. The money, checks, and all the stuff are still there, the BCA Smith said. Information we have right now is that she had no enemies, Abraham said, and it's probably not a jealous boyfriend situation. We're just kind of at a loss. Anthony, the divorced mother of 5 grown children, has lived with her daughter, son-in-law, and 2 grandsons for the past several years. She and her husband divorced in the early 1990s, her daughter said. She had no enemies that we know of, Jessica Winch said. She never mentioned anyone bothering her or anybody antagonizing her. We just don't understand it at all. Winch said her mother sometimes socialized with friends but wasn't involved in a serious relationship. Typically, she's 50 years old. Typically, she said her mother returned home from work about 10:20. She said it's unlikely her mother would disappear on her own. Responsibility is her top priority, and she'd never do something like this to the owners as far as just leaving. She just did not take off, I can tell you that. There's no doubt in my mind that something happened to her. She left her car, her purse, her keys, everything there. It wouldn't make sense. She left her coat and it was 10 below zero. Wow, that's... that is some cold. The door was wide open. Nothing was taken. It just don't make no sense. Alright. Then the next day, women's disappearance puts northern community on guard. The smallest and yet most telling sign that something terrible happened here was a penned note on some flowers tied to a post outside the liquor store where Rachel Anthony was last seen Tuesday night. "We miss you and love you, Mom," the note said. There were other signs too, other changes. Out-of-town detectives and reporters came and went from the fire hall. TV news trucks. Oh, the fire hall. That's what the building is that I think is the liquor store, but maybe it wasn't. TV news truck idled on a main street, more accustomed to bread trucks. But the biggest change, townspeople said, was the one inside them. This has broken her family's heart, and it put fear in the hearts of the rest of us. See, it always does that in the small towns. Like I said, you know, it's that sort of the Delphi phenomenon that you always hear everybody talk about, buc-ee, and then everybody used to leave their doors unlocked, and now everybody locks them. And townspeople said they feel uneasy until the mystery is solved. A helicopter vehicle and foot searches have failed to find any sign. And there's a picture of that, the image that they were just talking about. You would hate to think it's somebody who's walking among us. Dolores Riley of Bacchus works nights cleaning at a Pine River business. You know, so everybody's trying to figure out what the hell happened in the town here. While authorities looked for clues Thursday, Anthony's friends and teachers at Cambridge Community College, where she attended classes while going through a divorce in the early 90s, so probably not the husband. Anthony, then in her early 40s, enrolled while living in nearby Princeton and graduated in spring 1994. She participated in drama and literature and dabbled in photography, poetry, and creative writing. She helped organize the school creative writing and drama clubs and was one of the drama club's first residents. So, sounds like she was a pretty good lady. Said she was a very smart person. And then on March 6th, missing clerk's computer checked for possible clues. They copied the hard drive of 2 computers belonging to her. They searched it. Mom was a writer. She liked to write poetry, and she even did some articles for local papers up here. So, you know, this is all she's just missing, right? So then that's March 6th. Yeah, so that was March 6th, that last article. And then there was basically none after that until April 14th, so 5 weeks later. Four teenagers who were horseback riding Friday found an unidentified woman's body in a roadside ravine on the outskirts of Breezy Point, Minneapolis. Or Minnesota, excuse me. Authorities didn't rule out that she would be Rachel Anthony. So they found a body. They didn't rule out that it would be Rachel Anthony, who disappeared February 27th as she closed the liquor store where she worked in Pine River about 10 miles away. "I don't really want to think the worst," said Anthony's daughter, Jessica Winch of Payco Lakes. Now I looked her up, and this makes sense. This is the home that I found right there. And that's exactly where it is. So apparently she lived right here. You know, probably in that house. Maybe it's been, that looks like maybe a newer model, I don't know. But that's where she lived, and you can just see that's like a straight drive almost. You just go down this road, Highway 1, and then take a straight shot right into town, and boom, your work. So it makes sense. I know this is kind of a late night show. I'm kind of tired myself. I don't really want to think the worst, said Anthony's daughter, Jessica Winch of Pico Lakes, but with the area we live in and not a lot of crime happening, and she's the only person reported missing in the area, so I feel the likelihood of it possibly being her is fairly good. Police were quick to caution that the body had not been identified and that they were waiting results of the autopsy to determine the identity and cause of death. It certainly is a speculation, but there's nothing to show that it is her. The body was found about 2 p.m. in a steep ravine about 15 feet from the side of a remote road in the northwest corner of Breezy Point. From the town's resort and residential area. Fisher, I wish they never gave me the name. I did find a map that somebody else made. They just never gave at least that I saw. Winch, who was notified at about 4:15 p.m., said she's impatient for answers. I know they have to protect the scene and everything, but I almost would rather just go to the scene and just look and know it's her. I don't want her to be dead, but if she is, it would be closure, she said. Anthony of rural Pico Lakes was discovered missing from the Ultimate Liquor store after a police officer had noticed her car idling in the front of the store. So that's interesting. Yeah, so that makes sense. Her car was idling in the front of the store. So she went out and was putting the trash out, abducted, and then later she was going to go out the front, lock the door, get in the car. So that all makes perfect sense like that. Her car was running in the front. She just went out, put her key in, started it so it'd be warm for her ride home. Then she goes back inside, does whatever she's doing. Then the final thing is to throw out the trash out the back door. She goes out there, throws the trash in the garbage, and then somebody who was parked their car in the back abducted her and drove away, leaving the back door open, the front door locked, and that's it. Anthony's children said earlier they believe that she was probably abducted while outside the building by someone who had watched her and knew her closing routine, or by someone she might have known. Surveillance cameras in the store weren't operating the night she disappeared. Yep. Dead woman, this is another quick announcement. The dead woman found in a ditch near Breezy Point was identified Saturday, so this is the next day, as Rachel Anthony. Cass County Randy Fisher said the cause of Anthony's death was determined as asphyxia due to homicidal violence. Fisher said police weren't pursuing any suspects, but that quite a bit of evidence was gathered at the crime scene. Final autopsy results won't be finished for several weeks. Anthony's body was found in a ditch about 15 feet from a road Friday afternoon by 4 teenagers who were horseback riding. And for those of you who are new here, on this channel we try to, I do like most of the time 2, 3, 4 hour shows every night. Try to raise funds for my channel and charity. And last year we donated $22,000 to charity, to a lot of great organizations like DNA Dope Project, NCMEC, RAIN, just tons of them. All right, so if I know during this COVID time it's tough, but if you'd like to support the channel, any of the channel memberships, super chats, all of that, every bit of the income from YouTube is used for a large percentage of it goes to support the charities. All right, okay. Missing woman's body found. So this is a longer article. They drew a map here. I don't know how accurate it is. It's just, a pin on the ground there. There's really no way to know. Like there's the lake, it's just to the west of the lake. And so I have it, like here's the lake. They have it kind of over here. But a map that I found online that somebody did, they had it right there, and it kind of made sense. Because this is a really isolated road here. It's not even on Google Earth. And then she would have been found down the side there. The other spot that it has on the maps doesn't really make a lot of sense. And over here, it's kind of populated. It would have looked like this in 2001. That area is perfect. Right there. Nothing going on over here. A couple houses. Yeah, I mean, the thing is I'm just responding to Berkeley Girl. People contribute, and, it helps my channel out, obviously. Then we also do charity, and, we actually used 23,000, but 1,000 of it got transferred to this year because we're going to use it for identifying Jane and John Does, or, helping solve an unidentified perpetrator in a murder, or even a victim. So we're working with Colleen Fitzpatrick on that. I'm just trying to build up the funds. So we have 1,000. Probably at the end of this month I'll put 1,500 more in there. So then we'll have 2,500, and that's a pretty good chunk. And then if there's something that comes up before the next month, I'll cover that myself using PayPal funds that I have. Let's see. It's not far at all. I mean, it's just right down the road. It's like 10 miles. Body, let's see. He wouldn't say where or when the 50-year-old rural Pico Lakes woman died. Authorities also decline to say whether there are any suspects in the case and to release details about the condition of the body because of the continuing investigation. The investigation will be handled by the State Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, or BCA, the Crow Wing and Cass County Sheriff's Offices, and the Breezy Point and Pine River Police Departments. Anthony disappeared February 27th as she closed the Ultimate Liquor Store where she worked in Pine River at about 10 miles from where her body was found. Her body was found Friday by 4 teenagers who were riding horses. And that's probably why they even saw her. They were up in the air, could look down and said, "Whoa, look at that." We're still in a little bit of shock, Rodney Winch, Anthony's son-in-law, said Saturday afternoon. It's not the outcome that we wanted, but eventually we had hoped to know. It just hurts. Obviously, we want someone punished for this. There's a sick person on the loose who isn't safe for anyone else out there. A police officer found Anthony Anthony's idling car outside the store about 3 hours after closing time, then found the back door of the store unlocked. Authorities said at the time that they believed she had been taken against her will because her coat and purse were found in the store and no merchandise or cash appeared to have been taken. Surveillance cameras in the store weren't working the night she disappeared. Authorities still want to talk to a person who made a purchase at the store shortly before it closed at 10 p.m. February 27th. Huh. Okay, there you go. So someone did. Maybe that's what Jen H was talking about earlier. So someone made a purchase just before it closed. We're focusing in on interviewing anyone who had contact with Miss Anthony the night of the 27th. The liquor store since has moved to a new building. Oh. Wow. So that is what happened. But see, this article is even from back then. So it moved like a month. And look at it. They said a few buildings away, right? So, look. That's this one. I guarantee it. Look at 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So this is where the liquor store is now. And that is where it was, but it was converted to obviously a fire station. Doesn't that make sense? So this is where it was, and then somebody else bought it up and called it something different. So even back in 2001, it moved from here to here, and it was then it changed its name. That's kind of funny to have that in the article. For that reason, many people in the community also believe that the person who abducted her knew her and her routine. It just seems like it would be too much of a coincidence for it to be random. Marcellus acknowledged mixed emotions about learning that police had identified the body. It's better than not finding her, but you still wish you'd find her alive, he said. At the Conoco gas station across the street from the new liquor store, owner Bill Johnson remembered Anthony as a regular customer and a nice lady. She was just trying to make it in life. She worked hard at it. After her disappearance, Johnson said she gave his employees the option of trading shifts and not working nights, but none took him up on it. He admitted to having some worries about who the killer may be. They're always concerned. It is somebody local, or is it? Are they still in our midst, he said. Jana Fink, a 17-year-old high school student from Pine River who works as a clerk at Marketplace Gift Shop in Pequot Lake, said many of her friends and their parents were worried, and their parents didn't want them to work at night, she said. Anthony's abduction has raised similar concerns as that of 19-year-old murder victim Katie Poirier, who was kidnapped in May 1999 while she worked alone at night in a Moose Lake convenience store. Is that one that we did? See, that one, the convenience store one, is so common. It's amazing. Clues to who done it. Maybe who was in town. Imagine stopping time, essentially freeze framing a tiny northern Minnesota town and its residents. This is from 420, so about a week after she was found. And its residents on a chilly February night in the search for a killer. The approach, one among several, is being used by investigators looking for the person who abducted and killed Rachel Anthony, 50, a clerk who disappeared as she was closing the liquor store in Pine River. Cases like Anthony's abduction killings, possibly committed by a stranger, are the most difficult to solve. Thanks, Jen H. It's been pretty brutal tonight. Investigators have found, other than a few, investigators have found no evidence pointing to a suspect, but have come close to identifying almost everyone in Pine River that night by checking traffic tickets, store surveillance videos, and other records. Wow. That is except a person believed to have been Anthony's last customer and who may have made a purchase minutes before 10 p.m. This is a whodunit. So I wonder where they parked. I mean, obviously they had to abduct her and put her in a vehicle, right? And then it continues on another page here. It's a long ones here. We're interviewed hundreds of people on the disappearance, and the investigation is not focused on any one individual. Such investigations are so sweeping that computer databases generally are used to sort information, including tips and leads, and to identify convicted offenders who might be suspects. Anthony's body was found April 13th in a roadside ravine near the resort town of Breezy Point, about 10 miles south of the Ultimate Liquor Store. Authorities have said it appeared that Anthony was killed elsewhere. She died from asphyxia caused by homicidal violence. Investigators haven't said whether she was smothered, strangled, or otherwise deprived of oxygen, nor have they defined the kind of violence she suffered. Her body was clothed when the teen's riding horses found it. Investigators haven't said whether she was sexually assaulted, a common motive of such abductions. Investigators also won't disclose if they have found physical evidence such as hair or body fluids that could be tested for DNA and used to find your killer. Results from forensic tests generally take weeks. Another standard procedure in such cases is to examine the spot where the body was found and how it was placed there for clues to the mindset of the killer, including which way the killer's vehicle may have been traveling. Terry Smith and the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension have been involved in several similar cases over the last several years. Without taking a breath, the senior special agent in charge of the BCA's Northern Region lists of the names of 5 young women abducted and slain in the last few years. It's just one. The 1999 abduction of Katie. I should probably save that one. Hold on a second. Maybe we can look that one up. Katie, Poirier. Hey, thanks, Mag. That'll help out some. Boom. Okay. So that in that case, she was caught on grainy videotape in a Moose Lake convenience store. Have investigators developed a suspect who later was convicted? Oh, so they did make an arrest in that. These cases get to be a millstone around your neck, Smith said. In these abduction murders, where there is nothing in common between the victim and suspect, it's tough. You have 2 lives that touch for just a moment. There are no common threads, no common links. Let's see, the decks are stacked almost. I hate when they put these huge spaces between, just to make things fit. Hate it. Yep, all help, big or small, doesn't matter. Like if 100 people did it $2, it'd be a good night, right? Or a decent night. That's sort of like an average. Smith called the Anthony investigation the Poirier case without the videotape. Solving the Poirier case took more than the videotape. Acting on 2 separate tips, investigators used a database of convicted sex offenders and property records to discover a suspect, Donald Blom. Other efforts included tracing a partial license plate number to Blom's truck, obtaining a statement from him and finding a baseball jersey believed to have been worn during the crime led to his conviction. In the Anthony case, the surveillance camera in the liquor store had been turned off, or the videotape had run out at the time of her disappearance, Smith said. But unlike in the Poirier case, Anthony's body was found. Police never found Poirier's body, and authorities could never prove how she was killed. The St. Paul Homicide Sergeant Neil Nelson, speaking about homicide investigation in general, said the first thing investigators look for in any case is the last person with the victim. Sounds silly, but it's true. We know the last person with the victim killed them, said Nelson, who isn't working on the Anthony case. And if that person can't be determined, investigators often take a step back and ask who could be capable of committing such an act. Criminal histories of residents in the vicinity, recently released convicts, and registered sexual offenders are likely to be checked out. And that's where computer programs and analysts who collect, compile, and sort through hundreds of tips, police records, leads, property records, and prior criminal records come into play. There are a handful of criminal intelligence analysts at the BCA, one of whom is Bemidji, or whatever that is, assigned to follow the paper trails in the Anthony case. So, anyways, they're just trying everything they can at this point. And then there was no articles for a while. Then the next year, almost on the anniversary, February 28th, fear lingers in Pine River. Each night at closing time, Officer Phil Morin stops by the small town's only liquor store to watch the clerk turn off the lights, lock the doors, and walk to her car. Thanks, Shelley Wagner.
Thank you, Gray.
No, thank you. We got to keep on trucking. We just basically sit there. We can't. Let's see. Hold on. He then checks the Conoco station across the street to make sure the clerk there closes up and heads home. Safety 2. Then it's off to the nursing home 6 blocks away to watch employees changing shifts walk to and from the parking lot. We just basically sit where we can, where we can be seen and everybody knows we're around. It's been that way in Pine River since a year ago this week, when Rachel Anthony, a 50-year-old grandmother and liquor store clerk, was abducted from the liquor store at closing time and killed. Thanks, Zozo. When you know they're still out there, it gives you the willies, one resident said. One thing for sure, they always made these long articles on each one. It's been 11 months since her body was found in a ravine about 10 miles from town. Yeah, it's been a year since she was missing. Lee D, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, though, every night 100 people don't do that. The $2. So it's like, it's kind of this weird double-edged sword. Look at that, though. Ding, 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 ding. It's like a slot machine. Came up 2s. I should have said 5. You know, if everybody, you know, listen, If 40 people did 5, we'd have exactly the same amount. Now the $2 one, don't do the cheerleading for the $2 one. Doesn't work. Tonight it worked slightly, but just think about that. Don't do the cheerleading for that. Thanks. Okay, now if everybody just did $100, we... Just kidding. Dinglings. Oh man, you guys are hilarious. Right, yeah, I've said that 100 times. If you can't, if it affects you being able to pay bills, don't send me a damn thing, okay? Honest to God. Now, you know, maybe later on when COVID's over and you feel like you can help out, you got it, you know, working, then do it. But if it doesn't affect your life, like, oh my God, that was the last $5 I had, you know, do not send that to me. Anyways, thank you guys very much for the mini wave there. Let's see. Since then, authorities have pored over dozens of leads and followed up on hundreds of tips, but have yet to find the killer. Hey, thanks, Elizabeth Capone. See, she just equaled 10. That was 10 of those in one fair swoop. Made up for 10 people. There you go. Yeah, I mean, just being here, hanging out, hitting the like button. Make sure that you make comment in the video too. After the show, you know, make a comment. I think YouTube actually considers that it's a stronger engagement than hitting the like button, because you took the time to write something. That's actually me freaking out on the show, and that. Thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah. Still a mystery that has frustrated authorities and unnerved many in this northern Minnesota town of nearly 950 residents, some of whom who can't help but worry that the killer might be living among them. I think he probably lives around there. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about it, said Amber Bauman, a longtime resident who recently applied for a handgun permit. I used to walk down the street here and feel comfortable because I grew up here, but it goes through your mind that maybe this person walking by you is the one who took Rachel. Loretta Sass, who started working at the liquor store shortly before Anthony was abducted, and who quit last fall because she didn't want to work nights, said, "You pay attention because you're just not sure anymore." Cass County Sheriff Randy Fisher and investigators from 5 agencies, Cass and Crow, Wing Counties, and Pine River and Breezy Point Police Department, and the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension continue following leads. All we can do is just keep plugging along. Let's see. I think you think about all those things you really didn't think about before. You think about self-defense, where you have your keys in your hand, and looking in your vehicle. Yeah, I mean, it just totally changes your life at that point. Anthony's family has tried to move on, but has found the wait for a break in the case frustrating. On the internet site Valkyrie.net, Where is Rachel? Her son Robert Marsden of Ohio wrote this week, "You don't know how much I want to be able to even just talk to you. There isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about you and pray that the person or persons responsible for her death are brought to justice." Added Winch, that's the daughter, "It does not feel like it's been a year. It feels like it just happened." Winch, who competes in a bowling league in Pine River, often stopped by the liquor store after she was done bowling to visit with her mother. Winch bowled the night of the abduction as she headed home. I thought maybe I should go say hi to Mom quick, Winch said this week. Then I thought, oh, my car's turned the other way. I'll go home. Now I wish I stopped in, because if I hung around, I would have been there when she would have closed. And maybe that would have made a difference. Yep, there's always those crazy, should have, could have, would have. This is 2003. Alright, then I have a website. Maybe we'll go check out that one that was just mentioned there. You don't think something like this for Think So Far Away can have an impact so close to home, said Miller, an executive secretary for the Buc-ee Lakes Chamber of Commerce. This is a bad reminder. People in this central Minnesota resort community can't help but wonder. Not again. Nearly 3 years ago, 50-year-old Rachel Anthony of rural Buc-ee Lakes disappeared as she closed a liquor store where she worked in neighboring town of Pine River. 6 weeks later, 4 teenagers riding a horse found her body in a roadside ravine near Breezy Point. No one has been arrested in connection with the killing, which remains an open case, but as the search for Sojin 22, so I guess there's somebody missing here, enters its 4th day, the memories of that excruciating search for Anthony in the winter of 2001 are being rekindled. I can't tell you I feel what they feel, but I sure understand what they are going through, Anthony's daughter, Jessica Winch, said Tuesday. Support remains strong at the Buc-ee Lake home of Linda Walker, Shojin's mother, where several vehicles were parked. Many neighbors, including family friend Larry Schultz, brought food. Walker declined to comment. They're devastated, Schultz said of the family. This has been tough on everybody. Here, let me check something out. So what was her name? Linda Lake's home. Support remains strong at the Buc-ee Lakes home of Linda Walker. So this is from B1. I don't think I have the B1 part of it. Here, I'm gonna go open this up. Hold on a second. Now I'm interested in that one. See what's going on. Rachel Anthony, Minnesota, 2003, and this is from November 26th, so that was the right one right there. And then go back to B1. That might have been it. Yeah, it's B1. Long searches. Oh, that's her right there. Okay. So what's going on here? Let's see. A sea of police, more than 1,300 volunteers dressed as if for deer hunting or snowmobiling spread out Tuesday over stubbled, snow-covered flatland, once the bed of Glacial Lake. The searchers joined family, friends, and scores of law enforcement officers from local, state, and federal government. Let's see. Shit, what's her? I don't even have her name. Oh, it's Drew. D-R-U-S-J. Okay. I'm just trying to see if there's any similarity in this one. Hey, look at that. It's Zozo right there. Check it out. That's crazy. Anyone with information about Drew Shojin's disappearance can contact the Grand Forks Police. Let's see. Mayor. Yes, this is long here. So this goes from A1. Let's go back over there. Okay. Drew Shojin finished her shift at the Victoria's Secret store at 4 p.m. Saturday, then did a little shopping at another store in the Columbia Mall in Grand Forks. As she walked to her car, the 22-year-old University of North Dakota senior from Bacote Lakes, wow, from the same town, used her cell phone to call her boyfriend in the Twin Cities. They talked for about 10 minutes. He later told authorities the call ended with a startled cry from Drew. "Oh my God, no!" Nobody's heard from her since. Oh, jeez. That's so much like the one. You remember the case where the girl was at the payphone talking to her boyfriend? Yeah, it's just like that. Let's see if that happened. Yes. Yeah, so she was murdered. She's was an American woman who was abducted from Columbia Mall parking lot in Grand Forks, North Dakota. Oh, that's where she's from. But she was from that small town. But her disappearance and murder garnered great media coverage throughout the United States. I've seen this guy before. So was he the killer? Yeah. So this guy got arrested. Is he a serial killer? Who is this guy? He says he didn't mean to kill her. Bullshit. Anyways, sorry for the tangent there, but just wanted to see what the hell that was. Yeah, tangents are good, right? You learn a couple extra things. Yeah, and he passed him, and then his car broke down. You remember that? The boyfriend's car broke down. He like the transmission blew out or something. Absolute nightmare. I'm not sure, was she ever found in that one? I don't remember that one. All the details. Okay. So there's that. So let's see. I mean, she's in. I'll just read this one. This is in Crime Stoppers for Rachel Anthony. Rachel Anthony of Bacote Lakes disappeared February 27, 2001 from her place of work in Pine River on April 13, 2001. Her body was found in Breezy Point. She was killed of asphyxia due to homicidal violence. Rachel was working alone at Ultimate Liquors in downtown Pine River, preparing to close the store. As it was a frigid night of 19 degrees below zero, Rachel started her Ford Escort, parked in front of the building. You know, it makes total sense now, but when I first read that, I thought it was weird. I mean, just weird that it's running already, but it makes total sense. Escort parked in front of the building to warm it up and locked the front door. About 1 a.m. on February 28, 2001, Pine River police found Rachel's car still running in front of the business. but she was not inside. Her coat, purse, and keys were found in the store. So she obviously meant to go back in after throwing out the trash, grab her coat, purse, and keys, then go out the front door, lock that door, then get into her warm car and drive home. That never got to happen. Pine River police found Rachel's car still running in the front of the business, but she was not inside. Her coat, purse, and keys were found in the store. Okay, Rachel's body was found on April 13th by horseback riders in a ditch. There you go, Nelson Road. Finally, somebody. Let's just make sure that that's what I have. Yep, Nelson Road. Okay, good. So, that's nowhere near the little pin that they had. They had it over here. So it's right there, somewhere along this road. So it's good that I had another map picture of it that somebody else made. This one right here. And I went and found that spot. So they just said approximately right there on a website. And it is Nelson Road, and there it is. See, so it's found by horseback riders. To this day, the person or persons who murdered Rachel remain at large. The daughters of Rachel Jessica Winch and Tricia Lair say that 10 years ago this happened. This article is 2011. Today it remains on our family's mind. Once in a while, my sister or I will pull out one of the news articles, and it still brings us great sadness. It brings us great sadness. To have our mother taken away from us, to not see our children grow up, to not be there for us when we needed our mom. Not a day goes by that we don't think of her and wish that she would be with us. We still hold hope that justice will be found and want to remind everyone that if you know anything, to please come forward. Dave Bergia of the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension states, we still believe it was someone who has connections to the Pine River area. It wasn't someone just passing through. There's been no information that takes away from that theory at all. Yeah, it kind of makes sense. People who come forward with information that helps solve this case can qualify for a reward. All right. So let me put her name in again. Rachel. Hold on. This is on a Reddit. I don't want to do Reddit. Okay, let's try this. For a year and a half, Rachel worked the night shift alone at Ultimate Liquors. This is a 2019 article, so it should be about as updated as we can get. All right. So let's see. I hate Reddit. Reddit's a pile of shit. Reddit's an absolute joke. Okay. Reddit, they'll put out some bullshit on somebody, and they'll just leave it there, even if you tell them, no, hey, this is totally wrong. They just leave it there for years and years and years. They just don't give a shit. They're fucking idiots. I mean, I'm gonna say that right now. A lot of losers go on Reddit, But there's some good information too. It's hard to weed it out. There's so many idiots. Okay. All right. For a year and a half, Rachel worked the night shift alone in Ultimate Liquors after spending the day with her young grandson at the rural Pico Lakes home she shared with her daughter Jessica and her former son-in-law. You remember the time when? You remember that time we had the? Yeah. Well, I guess so, Zozo. Remember the time when we were out there, when we were doing that case of Savannah, that little 14-year-old girl that was, her father was molesting her? And but then some other guy shows up and gets her to go out the window and then takes her to another town. And then they got a hold of the FBI and all that crap. Do you guys remember that case? Savannah something? Maybe it was Spurlock or... Yeah, well, you remember we had the father of the girl, because that's the stepdad that was abusing her. So we had the father, the stepfather come on, and he told us, you know, his side, what was going, you know, what he was feeling and everything. And then people go, hey, do you know what? He's a sex offender, right? He's a sex offender. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. So they made this whole post on Reddit how I support sex offenders. And you know what it was? It was a... Yeah, there is a... shit. Hold on. I'll get you in a second. Yeah, there's a Savannah Spurlock. And then there's another Spurlock. Yeah, well, I think there's a Savannah Spurlock is the one that was taken out of a bar, murdered. There was 3 guys, remember, on surveillance. So it's another Savannah then. Pruitt. There it is. This one right here, Savannah Pruitt. Okay, so that's the Savannah. I knew it was a Savannah. It was and Spurlock was right around the same time, so it got kind of confusing in my brain because it's right there. Look how close it was. Spurlock, and then just scroll slightly down, and it's right there. So that means it was within days. All right, so yeah, so Reddit, you know, they post this thing. Oh my God, Gray's out there supporting, you know, sex offenders. How dare he? And it turns out where the guy, you know, he was like 22 and the girl was, you know, 17 or something, and they're still friends today. You know, there was like absolutely nothing. You know, it was just like he got convicted of it. And it really, what did that have to do with why I had him on? I was trying to get information about what might have been going on in that family. So I think Reddit's full of a bunch of dipshits, you know. And it's mainly because of the people who believe that stuff, you know. There's people that go onto Reddit and they believe everything that they read. I did read something off of Reddit last night because it seemed like most of the information was accurate, and then it had some other information. Hey Ashley, what is that? That's kind of a weird comment. What does that have to do with anything? Let's see. Let's see. Let me. I'm gonna read this article though. yeah, you'll have to go check it out now. Good stuff. February 27, 2001, a winter day, much like those in recent memory, especially snowy and unbearably cold on February 27th. It was, I guess, 19 below, right? Jessica Anthony knows it was a Tuesday when her mother vanished. She remembers because Tuesday was Women's League night at Community Bowl, a block away. Hey, let's see where Community Bowl is. Now we can double check. There's got to be a bowling alley, right? So bowling alley in Pine River. Ah, of course. It's exact. Look at that. They said it's a block away, right? Well, watch. The other liquor store is right there. Exactly the same distance. Do you guys remember that? Oh, that's ridiculous. I think the other liquor store was right there. So look at that. It's like this. I was trying to think, okay, it's a block away from the Community Bowl. So if it was like over here or something, it would have made sense. That's ridiculous. It's like, yeah. Yeah, people, you're a loser if you think Reddit's a really good source for information, okay? If you want to go there and, maybe get a lead to go look something up, great. Other than that, they're a joke, okay? All right, so, if you want to go there for some wild speculation and crazy stuff, then go ahead. Just don't let me know about it. Don't send me links. Don't send me anything. Not interested. Jessica Anthony knows it was a Tuesday when her mother vanished. I mean, listen, on the Reddit, I sent them a message saying, hey, these people are trashing me into oblivion on a lie right here. Okay? And they just go, well, it doesn't interfere with our, our... And it was like, are you kidding me, dude? What are you talking about? It's not true what they wrote there, and you leave it there. So, I don't appreciate anybody supporting that place. A lot of Tuesdays sometimes, I would go over and say hi to her, so this was after she was bowling, before heading home. And occasionally, I'd help her finish stocking up one of the refrigerators, Jessica said during an interview earlier this month. I remember sitting in my car, looking at her car across the street. Well, how could you have looked at her car across the street from the bowling alley? When the bowling alley is right there. That's even called Community Bowl. Was she somewhere else? I don't know. Maybe she was driving already. Let's see. Jessica bowled with her team that night, finished at 9:15. A lot of Tuesdays, sometimes, I would go over and say hi to her before heading home. And occasionally, I'd help her finish stocking up one of the refrigerators. Jessica said during an interview earlier this month, I remember sitting in my car, looking at her across the street and debating about going to help her, and I thought, it's really cold outside and I'm really tired. And I decided to go home. What if I'd gone in? Would something different have happened? Probably. Yeah, it's not your fault though. Between midnight and 1 a.m., February 28, 2001, a police officer noticed Rachel's car left running outside the liquor store. Probably could see the exhaust coming out, the fumes. And liquor store, and began investigating. Let's see. The front door of the store was locked. Thanks, Ozo. But the back door swung open when the officers tried it. Nothing looked amiss, so it was kind of shut, but it was unlocked. But Rachel's coat, purse, and cigarettes remained. No Rachel. Steve Abraham, Pine River police chief at the time, awoke to a phone call from the officer. I got out of bed, got dressed, came in, and we searched the surrounding area for, a half mile around, Abraham said. The snow had been really deep at that time. There was no tracks in the snow, nothing. We beat on every door for several blocks around, getting people out of bed, seeing if they'd seen anything at all. No one had. Officers theorized the perpetrator took Rachel from the back alley while she was disposing of garbage just before she planned to head home. Kim Terhar and her ex-husband, who owned Ultimate Liquors at the time. Oh, Jesus, really? Well, that makes it a little weird now. Her ex-husband owns the liquor store. Anyways, maybe it's just an aside, but that's strange. So Kim Terhar and her ex-husband, who owned Ultimate Liquor Stores at the time, confirmed for police a puzzling piece. No robbery of money or product appeared to have occurred at the store, although the store was equipped with security cameras They were not recording that night. So doesn't it seem kind of convenient that they weren't recording that night, and who would have access to that? I mean, that was something that crossed my mind earlier. I'm not saying the husband did it, but, now it's a little bit interesting, right? It's like, is there any motive at all there? I don't know. Jessica called her sister Tricia with the news the next morning. Meanwhile, in Ohio, her brother Robert Mazin received word of his mother's disappearance when his father showed up at the door. For weeks, Rachel's friends and family did what anyone would do, helped in any way they could, and prayed for her return. Tips poured in to police in the beginning, though none yielded information on Rachel's whereabouts. There was no sign of Rachel until April, when on Friday the 13th, 4 teenagers on horseback made a gruesome discovery on a road between Breezy Point and Peacoat Lake. Rachel's body lay about 15 feet down an embankment on Nelson Road. The search was over for Rachel and for whoever left her there. Coincidentally, Chief Abraham's own son was among the horseback riders. And that's not, it's weird, but there's not a lot of people that even live out there, so. Horseback rider who became part of Rachel's story perched atop the horses while traveling at a slow pace. That's exactly what I said. See, they're on top of the horses, slow pace, could look down and see the body. The rider spotted what those driving by had not, because they were up so much higher in the air on top of the horse. Since the discovery of Rachel's body, an autopsy of which revealed she died of asphyxia due to homicidal violence, investigators have worked to determine who was responsible. Theories vary on... See, what's interesting is if she wasn't sexually assaulted, the video cameras were off, and nothing was stolen, to me, that points to somebody very closely connected to the liquor store, right? It does. Because what would be the purpose at that point? You've got the camera not working, nothing stolen from the store. I don't know. It's pretty interesting. He said the location of Rachel's body played a major role in the suspect profile. While used by locals as a shortcut avoiding county highways, Nelson Road is not one most people from out of town seem to know. We went to the FBI and had this case looked at, and they agreed with us that this is somebody who knows the area. Again, matches maybe somebody close to her. To us, that just gave us more incentive to now spread out the parameters of our search for suspects, not just around Pine River, but to those 2 areas. Just like investigators, Rachel's children have spent many years going over their mother's disappearance in search of answers. They never did find out who the last customer was that night. That was the only sale they could not find out who it was. And isn't that interesting? See, like if you own the bar, you just make a purchase, make it look like it's with cash, all that kind of stuff. And then it's easy to be able to tell, not be able to say, well, I don't know who it was cash, And there's no cameras working, so you don't know who made the purchase. That's the only sale that they could not find out. So there's always that question if that was the person. I personally think that the last customer had something to do with it, being that the person never came forward. Right, but what did they buy, and was it a purchase with cash? And how convenient, again, that the surveillance cameras aren't working. Will Rachel's case ever be solved? Virgia is confident it can happen, particularly in the light of advances in DNA technology. Great. So are you saying that there was something else going on? And the proliferation of genealogy databases. Law enforcement is now mining those databases for familial DNA. Oh, so did you find maybe a hair, perhaps? I don't know. I really think that's what's going to solve this case. Well, I hope so. The case remains an open investigation with the BCA and the Cass County Sheriff's Office. Spotlight on Crime is offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person. If anyone knows anything about the case, even if it seems to be small, inconsequential details, Cass County Sheriff Tom Bursch said they are asked to contact the BCA at bca.tips@state.mn.us or 877-996-6222 or Cass County at 218-547-1424 or 800-450-2677. There you go. Crazy. Huh. That's just one of those just totally random. I wonder if there's any motive at all for the husband to have done that. Because, man, what a perfect person to be able to get away with doing all of this. Who knows? Anyways, I talked to my brother today about the coronavirus and everything. We talked for, God, I don't know, it seemed like it was like 35, 40 minutes. It's pretty interesting. My wife had her second shot yesterday, and today had a fever and achy muscles. And I was asking my brother about that, and he goes, oh yeah, because the first shot primes your, I can't remember what the term was, like cells or something. And then when you get the second shot, but the first one actually protects you pretty well. The second shot then has it makes your body feel like it's having an immune response and puts all these antibodies in your body. So your body feels like it's actually sick, but you're not. It's just producing the antibodies for it. And then we were talking about, let's see, what was it? No, it wasn't that. Let's see. It was, we're just kind of getting into, I was talking about the way we know that this virus is so much more transmittable is because the flu almost disappeared this year. And the reason the flu disappeared this year is because people were washing their hands, distancing, and wearing masks. But yet, even during the time where the flu shot was almost completely, the flu was almost completely squashed, the coronavirus is still spreading around dramatically all over the place. And there's a couple new variants that he said that they're a little bit nervous about out of South Africa that probably have even made it here. And there's one in Ireland that they're still, can be killed by the vaccine, but it's not quite as affected by it. So it's just really, this is like a big deal, I wish there almost needs to be a time where everybody's vaccinated and everybody sits in their home for 3 weeks, literally, and we just sit there, and then anybody that has literally just wait 3 weeks, then go out, and then we start doing contact tracing. I don't know. It's just this is kind of a freaky thing, So hope everybody gets their vaccines and we can get this herd immunity thing going and try to squash it and make it really where the technology that they're using, they can quickly modify and keep keep up with the virus with it. But man, do we really want to have this shit going on like this forever? It's ridiculous. You almost need to, you know, this virus is something that might be around forever. You know? Really spooky shit, you know? Yeah. Yeah, I might have him come on again and he can talk about all this stuff. Because it's pretty interesting. I mean, that's really all we talked about the whole time. Yeah, he came on that one time, but maybe he could just come on and sort of talk about in general. And then we did talk about the Chimera stuff for a few minutes. He actually says he works at UW with the leading expert over there on Chimeraism. It's like, oh my God, we should get that person on the show. I don't know what it is. That thing, Chimeraism, is so interesting to me. That's like one of the most interesting things I've ever, even he thinks it's interesting. Like, oh yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. So that'd be kind of neat. Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah, everything. Here's the weird part is, I know Cindy doesn't like to talk about this, but what what you just said, Elizabeth, is, you know, it was all politics going into this, okay? And now they're doing the exact same things that everybody else is doing. All right, so it was kind of like he was doing what people advised him to do, and now they're doing exactly the same thing. Right. I think, and my brother, you know, I was talking to my brother, the first shot does give you a really pretty decent protection. And he said he tends to agree with me on that they should have and should give everybody their first shot. And the second shot is exactly the same as the first shot. It's the same everything, okay? So if you get to the second shot, great, but give everybody their first shot first, okay? Yeah. Everybody should get that first shot first, right now. And it's weird how it's like, well, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do it. Listen, if you have shots sitting around a stockpile, that's bullshit. They should be in everybody's arms, and you should actually be waiting for more vials, okay? You just got to start pumping them into people's arms. They're doing 1 million a day now. So it got up to 1 million under Trump a day, and right near the end there. And so now they're going to try to get up to 1.5 million shots. Hopefully, I mean, I don't know why we can't do 2 or 3 million around the entire United States. You know, 50 states, just put them everywhere, let people, you know, and here's what we need to do is just do a huge revampment of being able to facilities that can produce the actual vaccine itself. You know, like, you got to really up this, because if we need to switch on a dime to head off a new strain that's brutal, you got to quickly get that in and manufacture the hell out of that thing right away with. And the thing is, we know this works. So I don't know. As long as you're doing exactly the same thing and you just modify it slightly to maybe hit a different receptor, then I don't know if you need to do all the months of trials on it. You know, just you found what the new variant has on it. Boom, 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 and send it out, you know. You gonna do your own vaccine, Cindy? Hey, tell you what, everybody. I don't know about you, but I'm thinking of, we've talked about this before, but I'm thinking of picking up smoking. What about you? We can all then move to New Jersey and get our vaccines, and then we just miraculously all quit smoking the next day. Yes, I'm totally with you on that, Cindy. Except we'll have to be like on Breakfast Club. Smoke up, Johnny! And just blaze away for a few days. Maybe get that nicotine level up there. And then just go in there, like literally go into the vaccine center with smoke coming out of your nostrils, okay? Like you just, blowing smoke rings, practice that for a couple days. And, oh my God, there'll be 5 people running up to you ready to jam needles into your arms. It's awesome, right? Oh yeah. So okay, everybody, it's a great time to be a smoker. Can you imagine that you're gonna have ads out there? You know how they used to have the ads for food stamps? How ridiculous is that, by the way? Advertising for food stamps. Why not have an advertising for, hey, go to the local job center, okay? But anyways, they had advertising for food stamps. So why not, they should do is have like a public service announcement and said, would you like to get your coronavirus shot? Well, don't heed the Surgeon General warnings. Grab the nearest pack of cigarettes and smoke it right down and fly to New Jersey. Okay? Get an apartment and go get your shot. All right? Yeah, so that's what we're going to have on the... It's just, God, how ridiculous. Now you're going to get this whole batch of smokers. They're going to be like this new group of smokers. And they're going to go, well, why did you start smoking? Well, the next time there's a virus, I want to be first in line. Makes sense. Makes sense. We're going to have an entire country, 350 million smokers. We're going to start, when the baby's in the crib, we're going to start loading them up. You're going to see these pictures with a baby laying in a crib with a cigarette dangling out of its mouth. You're going to see the baby with a cigarette dangling out of its mouth, okay? Of course, you'll have to put a bib on it for the ashes and everything. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, just picture it for a second. I guess you guys didn't think it was as funny as I did. You guys get so into talking to each other, you forget to listen to the show. Yeah. Yeah. No. Getting the shot's more important, Gene. You gotta smoke like a chimney, get your shot, and then quit. All right? There you go. Sacred Heart was listening. Yeah. Oh yeah. Just watch it. You know those pictures you see when they have this nice little family sitting around a Thanksgiving table? Now you're gonna pan. The camera's slowly gonna pan around. And every adult's going to have that cigarette dangling from their mouth. And then it's going to pan around. And even the little baby sitting on his little stroller trying to slap up the applesauce. It's going to have one sticking out of its mouth. And you're going to say, well, why are they doing that, sir? Well, we all need to be smokers to be first in line to get that vaccine. But let me ask you this. What if everybody smoked? Wouldn't they then have a hierarchy on the smokers? See, I don't think they thought through this very well. Well, the first phase will be everybody 85 and older that are smokers. The second phase will be 75 years older and smokers. Well, what about 75 years old that don't smoke? Well, they're at the back. They're at the back of the line. Yeah, it's just it makes no sense. I think that's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, sure. You know what? Here's the thing. They are high risk for dying from the coronavirus. But it's absolutely their fault. Okay? My brother's argument, though, was, well, they have those ads on TV that seduce young people to smoke, so they may have been smoking their whole lives. But I'm like, you know what? It's still a choice. You can quit smoking whenever the hell you want to. Here's how you can quit smoking. I'm done. And it's hard, yep. But it's up to you not to have that cigarette. It's the same thing with, the alcoholics, right? It's your choice never to have that next drink. And there's nobody saying, oh, it's impossible, man. Nope. It's your choice not to have that next drink. And so when people say, I'm not one of the people that believes alcoholism is a, quote, disease, okay? I don't believe it. Because there's no other disease out there that you can say, like if you have lupus or something, you don't get to say, well, you know what, today I'm not gonna have it. Right? You don't get to do it. But the disease of alcoholism, you can say, well, today I'm not drinking, so today I don't have the effects of it. Today I don't have any effects whatsoever. As a matter of fact, if I don't drink again, I'll never have the manifestations of... I mean, it's actually a debate that's in the literature out there, so I'm not saying something that people should get offended.
Gosh, Gray. Gosh, Gray, you're so mean. It is a disease. Oh, God.
God, calm down, Mary Lou.
Okay.
Yeah, see, Mary Lou was just full of crap right there. She didn't really... It's not a disease, Jay. You always come up with until this, until that. I'm just telling you, if there's something that you can choose not to do that isn't supposed to be in your body to live, you can choose not to do it. Then I think I can easily make the argument that it's not a disease, okay? That's actually out there. They argue back and forth. Yeah, I don't, this doesn't mean anything. Right. That's because they kept drinking. Oh yeah, that's right. Little Rascals did have smokers. Yeah. Nah, I mean, I don't think people enjoy being, like they don't enjoy being alcoholics. It's not like, it's probably fun while they're drinking, but it's like the next day they're like, ah, crap, But people don't have to do it. Yeah, so that's great. See, that's what's so cool is people that can actually, like Cindy right there, she just said 10 years sober. She quit drinking. So now doesn't have the disease anymore. See, I guess what you could say, well, it's the disease is dormant until you drink. Well, I just don't agree with it, okay? To me, it's a disease that only shows up when you drink, okay? So I do not think alcoholism is a disease. And if you go online and say, is it a disease or not, there's huge debates on it. So you can say it is, and I can say it's not, and nobody knows. How come smokers aren't called, that's not a disease for them? Like people who are addicted to cigarettes, why doesn't it say nicotinism? Can you answer that question? Why isn't there something called nicotinism? Right, that's what I thought. Gosh, Gray, you make too much sense sometimes. Because they're exactly the same thing. Smoking, alters your mind, and it's very deadly over time, just like drinking. Right. Smoking is a choice, same as drinking. Yep. Yeah. No, it is the same, darling. It's just a different chemical. Yeah. No, Zozo. Give him a break. It was a disease. He couldn't control it, man. Give him a break, Zozo. Man, the guy... He was wonderful other than that. Okay? Yeah. I'm just not, like, here's the thing. Some people are lucky that when they drink, it doesn't affect them the same way as alcoholics. You know, alcoholics, when they have a drink, it makes them feel way more euphoric than other people when they drink, and then they kind of keep drinking and drinking and drinking, and then you know, then there's the functional types of alcoholics. So there's kind that black out, right, Cindy? They always drink themselves to oblivion. Then there's the functional ones that just kind of keep the buzz going, you know, sneaking a little vodka here, a little this and that. Yeah, that's what that's what I agree with Sarita. I think it's great though when people can actually quit, you know. So like Cindy should be proud of herself. 10 years, that's a long time. Don't you get like a different chip for that? Or whatever they call it. Yeah, but functional drinkers are... Oh, you didn't get it. You just did it on your own, Cindy? Awesome. Or wait, did you write up there you had a support staff or support system? And yeah. But literally, can anybody come up with why why isn't there something called nicotineism? Because you got to admit it's absolutely similar, right? Nicotine alters your mind, and you get addicted to it. Similarly, alcohol and tobacco, by the way, go together like two peas in a pod. I mean, it's freaking insane. They almost seem like they work together, right? And it's something that's hard to stop, and you can die from smoking. It's literally, the parallels are, you know, they're the same all the way down. It's just a different drug. Yeah, that's not the same. That's not a good analogy, Wally. Sorry, buddy. How come nobody... I'd like Cindy to answer the question. You know, somebody that, you know... I want to know what the difference is. I want somebody that has some experience or whatever to... I can't drink. The stuff tastes so nasty. Well, it depends, right? Like, what do you mean, not you, your friend? I don't know what that means, Cindy. I mean, what are you saying, not me, too? Oh, you don't see that there's a difference? I see. Well, good. We agree then. How about a... Well, what are your guys' favorite non-beer, you know, a mixed drink? Yeah, I'll tell you what. I used to chew every once in a while when I would drink, and the combination of the nicotine from when you're chewing and alcohol is just like way better than each one individually. Oh, not you. I see. Okay. I thought you said you were the drinker. Okay. I can never catch what you're saying on the right time. All right. Sorry, Cindy. Well, tell your friend good job. I finally read somebody else's Type in. Someone need to put look it in there for me on that one. Look it. Oh, good. Thanks, Elizabeth Capone. See, a lot of the stuff that I say on this channel is just, you know, it's weird because I can't say, oh, it's reality. You know, I can say that it's absolutely logical and makes sense most of the time. You know, 99% of the time. I'm sure I say dumb shit. You know, but a lot of times it's not PC. You know, see, that's the thing. Like when I talk about, like all over the media right now on conservative channels, they're talking about exactly what I talked to you guys about 2 years ago. The idiotic, you know, the gender in sports argument, because they just signed a bill. Okay, that is a horrible thing to do to females, genetic females. Okay. One of the tonight on the news, you know what I heard? This is the truth. This girl that's a world-class 400-meter runner runs it in 49 seconds, right? Which isn't even, well, I think it's got to be quicker than that. Maybe 47, let's say. 47 seconds. Which is world-class. But in high school, there's like dozens and dozens of high schooler men that blow that away. You know, they're like 45, 46, you know, 46 something. So I'm not sure how you would ever get it to where it was equivalent. I wish people would just use logic, you know. I don't think people look forward enough down the road. They're trying to be so cool in their little social groups and so respected for their wokeness that they won't listen to absolute logic. Really? You've never even had a drink in your life, Susanna? Jesus. It took me a while, though. I didn't have one till, I think, my freshman year in college. Never had any in high school. Well, I had one beer after I caught this big 19-inch rainbow at the Metolius River. I mean, is there really anybody out there that thinks it's okay for women to men to identify as a woman and then get to be able to compete against women? Is there anybody in here that thinks that that's okay? I mean, and can give a really good argument why that works. I just need somebody. We didn't have to remove Jolie's comment. The drink she typed in was not the drink. Well, yeah, the name of the drink she typed in is actually a name of a drink. No, but I want to know from like liberals how it makes sense. So any liberals that are Democrats that are in there, it'd be cool to know how that makes sense. Because when a male goes through puberty, they have different muscle structures that happen. So even doing a hormone therapy isn't going to change your advantage with your muscles. Well, I don't know if he's What's weird about it's strange. It's sort of like how Trump was assigned to the Russians, by the left. And now Biden is signed to China because of his son's dealings and his sort of stance that isn't that hard on them. So it's kind of like, and maybe even his connections with them. And if his son does have a connection and it's proven based on what that Bobolinsky guy said, that Biden does have something to do with that, well, then Russia actually has something to hold over him. That's what's scary about that. Same kind of stuff that they were saying about, oh, well, with Trump, they've got this videotape. So they can, you know. I don't know. I know a lot of liberals that make sense. Here's the thing is I don't care if somebody votes for Democrats or, you know. I just don't like when a Republican votes for a hard lefty. It's like, because you didn't like the other guy. That's so stupid. It's like, you're going to vote for somebody that doesn't think anything like you at all because you just didn't like your candidate. Man, that's how divided we are right now. Yeah, I don't know, Cindy. That's just sort of a, you know, yeah, sure, right. There's all you probably know the athletes, but they're going to get blown away by the athletes in that sport at a higher level, okay? So it just doesn't make any sense, all right? I don't know how you don't know how you think about that. To me, it's just, you're going to ruin female sports. And what you said actually isn't what I asked you, okay, or anybody, okay? I'm saying this, right? Listen, I think women, to support what you just said, Cindy, should be able to compete in any sport that they can compete at a higher level, okay? So I agree with you there. Women should be able to always compete at a higher level. Okay, so a woman who can run the 100-meter dash in 10 seconds should be able to compete with men because she's in the world-class ranking for that. That makes total sense. Or if they're good at basketball, they can make three-pointers blindfolded all day long, and they can compete with the men and don't get the ball stolen from them, and they're quick and all that. They should be able to play in the NBA. Okay, so I agree with you there on that. But what I'm saying is if there's a male who identifies as being a female, should they be allowed to compete with female athletes? Because after a while, you're going to have a basketball team that's going to have 5 starters that are all males identifying as females. And then you're going to have a bench made up of... It'll absolutely destroy female athletics. Okay? And I'm saying genetic female. And I don't know how people can't see that. It's really obvious. But women should always be able to upgrade. Men should never be able to go backwards. They should never be able to down, you know, when I'm just using the word grade as like a level, you know. Like a male moving down to compete with women because I'm now claiming to be a female is ludicrous to me. Makes no sense. So that was the question. Yeah, I mean, right, if you just had athletics and whoever competed, but then there'd be discrimination. No, see, that's what Title IX was about. Right. Okay, see, that means your brain is a logical thinker, Cindy, see? There you go. See, it's not the sports, and I totally agree. I said on the show the other night that if you're a man and you're identifying as a woman, go for it, right? Do what you want to do, all right? But when it comes to sports, and also, what about this? A crime committed by a female, or a male who's identifying as a female, shouldn't it be classified as a male homicide? Or would it be now a woman killing? How about that? Can you answer that question? For stats? And what about hiring for jobs? Like if you want equity and you want women to have the same amount of positions. If a male claiming to be or identifying as a female got the job, does that mean the company hired a female? So how is that going to affect the overall the counts out there? But sports is a bigger deal because that's where a huge advantage and sort of a manipulation could be done. No, I was actually listening today to a very lefty, feminist, who was absolutely against allowing gendered, males that identify as being females to compete with other women. It sets women's sports and other elements back decades. Okay, they're actually promoting men again. It's weird. It's like strange. And now if you're a man, or let's say a female identifying as a male, well, now using the same rules that they want, you can't compete with the females anymore. You can only compete with the males, and you'll likely never make a team. Okay? I'm just saying. Unless it's a non-contact type sport. I know. So now they want to even add men to the women's sports by subverting it through, it's ludicrous. Though, I think one of the dumbest things I ever heard was when Caitlyn Jenner, Bruce used to be his name, he won the decathlon, set a world record, right? He set a world record in the decathlon, I think, in 1980 or 1976. I can't remember. But he, imagine if he had, at that time, went by the words that he said. He actually said at the ESPYs that you should be able to compete with the gender that you identify with. And I thought to myself, man, could you imagine if you, Caitlyn, performed the heptathlon when you set the world record and you competed it against the females? You would have won, you would have tripled their scores, okay? No, we're not covering any more cases. Good night, Zozo. Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, what does that have to do with anything, Gene? Yeah. It had absolutely nothing to do with what I was talking about. Good for them. Awesome. Excellent. Wow. Yeah, I identify as a millionaire, and I expect the government to put that in my bank immediately. Well, why? You're proud of those women because they're 6'3"? Why, Gene? What does that have to do with anything? I mean, that's ludicrous. I'm glad that they're playing in the WNBA and everything. But if any of those women are good enough to play in the NBA, they should be able to do so. Yeah. God, I'm so proud of her. She's 6'3". Like, I don't sit around and say I'm so proud. Now, if you were saying a woman in the NBA, I don't understand your comment that you're so proud of them. I don't get it. Because I've never sat around and said, I'm so proud of everybody that's in the NBA. I'm so proud of them. Now, I'd be proud if there was a guy that was 4'8". And I don't have no right to be proud, but let's say it was a brother or something. And he played in the NBA, I'd go, God, I'm so proud of you. You overcame that. But you're proud of somebody merely because they're tall. And they're playing in the WNBA. I don't get it. Makes no sense. No, that's not true, Gene. If they were good enough, they'd play in the NBA. There is. Let me tell you guys this. Let me just tell you this, Gene, so I can totally tell you that it wouldn't work. All right. Listen. I was a really good basketball player. I mean, you don't have to believe me or not, but I really was. I was a really. I could shoot from 40 feet and make them all day long. Literally 10, 15 feet behind the NBA three-point line. I was a really good passer, quick. I wasn't a ball hog. I liked passing more than shooting, but I could just shoot bombs, okay? And in the summer times, I'd play at these gyms over here where college women basketball players, like the starters on, Oregon State and U of O, and I'd play against them, and it was just so easy to blow by them, lay the ball in, shoot over them, ding, ding, ding. Some of them were tough and they'd elbow you and stuff like that. But it was so easy, and I was never anybody. Like, I didn't play for college. I didn't do any of that stuff. But I played against them, and it was simple. Okay, so what I'm telling you is there's a huge difference. Okay, because I've told you the story before. I played the pickup games at Oregon State against the other Oregon State basketball men's players. Just the regular players, and I could play with them. They weren't anything special. But Gary Payton, on the other hand, I played against, and he made me look like the shittiest player that ever lived because he was an NBA caliber player. Okay, so he literally, the NBA is filled with those people. So there's almost no way here's what's going to happen. A girl will play in the NBA someday. It's going to be probably a point guard, a guard person. It's not going to be a tall person. It'll be a guard. Somebody that's like 5'10", but really quick, can shoot, and is a passer. It's not going to be a 6'4" person or a 6'8". Because if you look at the WNBA, when you see the 6'8" woman running down the court, it's really lumbering and slow, and she's sort of the center. Not really slow, but just kind of not quick. In the NBA, a 6'8" guy is lightning fast, and they're like a small forward, jumping up in the air, dunking about 4 feet over. Worlds different. It's like a scale model. Does that make any sense to anybody? I'm sure nobody's listening again, but I'm just telling you the truth. I think that what'll happen is a really quick point guard that can shoot and a very clever passer will play in the NBA. And we don't know when that's going to be, but I think it's getting a little bit closer. The problem is men are getting more and more athletic as we go too. Yeah, Muggsy Bogues. He could dunk, I guess. I mean, I can't. Muggsy Bogues was in the NBA. He was 5'3", and he dunked, I guess. I know that Spud Webb did, and he was 5'6". If you can dunk a basketball at 5'3", you should win the Medal of Freedom or something. I mean, it is ludicrous to be able to dunk at 5'3". And immediately you should have competed in the high jump because your back must have been 8 feet off the ground just to be able to dunk it, right? Now, there you go. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think a woman wrestler could have beat you, Mortician Man? It's just physical sports you can't do. I think it's definitely doable to, like for example, a woman weightlifter will never win in the men's Olympics. Okay, that's never going to happen, and there's a reason for it. Yeah. Hey, good for you, Mortician Man. So here's the thing: is bowling. I could definitely see bowling, a woman be able to be. I don't know why that's a gender sport. There shouldn't be women's bowling and men's bowling. They should just have this massive bowling league, because you don't have to be a man to be a good bowler. You have to be able to, darts, or archery, for example. Now, tennis definitely makes a huge difference. Maybe if Serena Williams could play a couple good matches, but she could get destroyed by the top tennis players. No way. That's not a good. That's a little bit closer to what I'm talking about, though. You know, golf's kind of like that a little bit, you know? I mean, if you let women tee off from a different tee box, here's what I always thought was amazing. Was Michelle Wie, when she was 13 years old, competed with the men in the Sony Open and missed the cut by 1. So that means women at some point, if they can just hit the ball a little bit further off the tee, have a shot. Right? Well, golf is, you know, it matters on, you know, the power for hitting the long drives and all that stuff. But think how crazy it was with Michelle Wie when she was 13 years old. She shot like a 73 the first day and then a 68 on a men's tour event and then missed the cut by 1 stroke. And then she got worse after that. It was weird. Over the years, she actually then tried to qualify for the men's U.S. Open in golf and made it all the way to the rounds where you know, the tournament part of it. So she was incredible. She could hit the ball about 300 yards. Was very good. So, and that, I'm talking when she was 13 years old. I mean, think how ridiculous that is. So golf is more of a game than a sport, you know? Yeah, well, it is a sport. It's like a sport and a game, but it's definitely a sport. I don't give a shit what you say there, Dark Side, but you know, like it takes coordination. You have to be able to hit the ball straight down the middle. You know, it's I don't think it's I do say it's more of a game than a sport, but it's definitely a sport, you know. 100%. It's fun. Once you practice golf and you actually can hit the ball every single time solidly, then it's fun. Anyways, I'm going to get out of here, you guys. Some thoughts to think about tonight. I think the whole country should get in an uproar about the sports part of it. But I don't think, you know, like if you're transgender, you shouldn't be discriminated against in the regular world. But athletics is sort of a different thing, you know, because you're interfering with women's athletics. And I support women and their right to be able to compete against each other or move up higher and compete against men. But as soon as you allow a man who identifies as a woman to compete with women, you're going to get a lot of people doing that, and it'll destroy and take positions away from women, and scholarships will be affected. It will really do a tremendous amount of damage to females. And then it's like, well, then where do you stop, right? Like I was saying a minute ago, if a man who identifies as being a woman kills somebody, does that mean it was a woman homicide or is that a man homicide? See, those are all these stats that are going to unfairly affect women and competition. Yeah, no, we never disagreed on it, but your comment a minute ago how you're proud of 6'3" women, because in the NBA is weird. I mean, in the WNBA. They're just playing in the WNBA. You should just think, wow, it's cool that they're good enough to play in the WNBA, but it's like, you know, I don't know what the proud part of it, that's not achieving something. How about this? What if, let me ask you something. What if Mike Pence tomorrow decides to identify as a female? Wouldn't he have been the first woman vice president? You know, just something to think about, everybody. All right, I'm going to well, it's true, isn't it? Cindy, come on. Bam! That's the kind of rabbit hole shit you go down, though, right? It's true. It's literally true. I mean, I'm telling you. Oh, yeah? Go through, do it on a whole different levels, all over the place. Watch. It'll be a man identifying as a woman to step on the moon. And they'll say, it's the first woman to step foot on the moon. What a great day. Ah, forget it. See, that's where the problems come in. And see, that's not a sport right there. It's just this identification thing. But it really, what it does is it really downplays women. You know, to me, it just sucks. Okay, I'm just telling you. But anyways, I'm now identifying everybody as a multi-millionaire. So for me to do the shows, I'm going to have to make $2,000 or $3,000 a night. If you guys could step it up quite a bit, thank you. All right, and I'm kidding. Yeah, that's just ridiculous. But you're not you're not one. I know. That's exactly right. Yeah. It's not a perfect analogy, but it's right there. Anyways, you guys, thanks for hanging out tonight. All right, really appreciate it. Make sure that you maintain your social distancing, wash your hands, and wear the mask, for God's sakes, when you're around other people. And if you can, see if you can buy an N95, a bunch of N95 masks, and wear them all the time, okay? Hey, thanks, Linda Howe, as in Linda Molden Howe of the Cattle Mutilations and Crop Circles. Good night, Cindy Lynn. All right, everybody, thank you very much. And as I always say, everybody, until next time, be safe out there.
I agree.
Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now.
She said, I agree with you, Gray.
And during this whole time,
Love you all.
I have not seen one person
Cow, corn, circle, alien.
crime dissector. I did it for you, Linda. Rejector. I'm a certified
Human lie detector. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna stretch you.
If you try and make me like an old
You're getting a little weird.
crime sector is my nectar. Professor Gray is gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector.
And I'm always gonna be up on my vector. Fool deflector, interceptor. And I'm meaner than a spectre with a vector on his spectre with a respector. Just remember I'm a perfect loving attractor. I have no agenda, I'm a agenda. And I give it to you straight without a wonder. And in the end, I'm gonna send you
on a mission to reveal the true offender.
What the hell was that?
I'll just get right back to work.
I was just trying to sound like a robot.
Well, you did a good job at it.
What the hell was that whistle for?
'Cause you suck.
No, you suck.
No, you suck.
No, you suck.
No, you suck.
Okay, we can do that all day long. But listen, you were very, very mean to me the other night, and I didn't like it.
No, you were mean to me, remember?
Oh, yeah. Jeez, that's weird. Okay. Good night, John Boy.
Good night, Mary Lou.
You know what? I'm thinking of identifying as a millionaire, too.
Good idea, good idea.
All right, you guys. Have a great evening. And here we go with some freaks wearing. Let's see, where the hell's the... Gotta get you guys some of that music again. Oh, wait, hold on. Before we do that. I almost forgot. Ah, man. What a great memory right at the end.
Thank you to Claudia Neubauer, Lee D, Sozo, Nona 617, Rita Schaefer, Sarita, Darlene White, and happy birthday, Sarita. Jen H, Mag, Gene Fish, Shelley Wagner, Zozo, Lee D, Wally Gator, Cindy Lynn, Elizabeth Capone, Zozo, Elizabeth Capone again, and Linda Howell. Oh,
I didn't say that, Sarita. It was John Boy. But yes, happy birthday, Sarita.
oh, I said it already. Jeez, Gray, you have to do it.
I know you said it, but I'm saying it too.
Okay, Jesus. You sound like a maniac.
Hey, I can do that too. Crime collector, drug protector, I'm a certified human lie detector. Gonna get ya, wanna stretch ya, if you try and play me like an old projector. Crime suspect is my nectar, Professor Gray is gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a protector. Fool deflector, interceptor, you know me and an inspector with a vector. On inspector with a protector. Happy birthday to you. Sarita, it's Sarita's birthday. And it's not a Thursday. Or is it a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? Jessica Schubach.
Hey, you don't say it right because your voice isn't keeping up. Jessica Schubach.
No, I'm the one that said Jessica Schuba.
Right, I know. I was just imitating you when you do.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Yeah, but you were supposed to put that together for me, Zozo. I don't even know what you're talking about. So, oh well.
Oh yeah? Let me see. Oh yeah, look at that. From PayPal. Olga. Karen K. Oh, it's Karen K too. Look at that. And Ronald. Thank you. Thank you, Sacred Heart.
Yeah, thanks, Sacred Heart. Yeah, just get it together so I can make the post, you know? I saw that link you gave, but I didn't know how it worked or anything. I don't use Apple products. They suck.
with a buck and a quarter. Jill came down with $2.50. Ooh! Thanks, William Zambrano, except that's gonna go away. The Freaks 101's going away in 5 days. It's gonna be the Oogla Boogla Freaks. That's it.
Yeah, thanks, William. I've been saying though we're getting rid of the first tier because everybody just defaults to that one. And we're trying to raise funds for the charities and my channel and everything. Know what I'm saying? Oh, you got to work. Boom. Hopefully you don't have an iPhone. Yeah, I see that. But we're actually, in a few days, we're not going to have that level that you're in. It'll remove you as a member. I might extend it a little bit because people aren't getting the message quick enough. Thank you, though. No, you can upgrade now if you want to the Oogla Boogla Freaks, and then you'll be at the low level later. You just hit the join button again or whatever, and then it says upgrade. I don't know. Do whatever you want to do. I don't want to force you to do it. Thanks, Elizabeth Capone.
Hello? Anybody there? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I hear you, Mary Lou. Jesus. Okay. Be safe out there, everybody.